KJ Thakunakun, because you're a part of the panel. We now move to the last panel of the event. It's panel number 3, where we talk about examining how regulators, lenders, SROs, investors, fintechs, and customers can jointly build a secure, responsible, and inclusive credit ecosystem. And I promise you this is going to be a very, very interesting session. So please remain seated while we have a very, very fruitful discussion ahead. With this, I will call upon the moderator for the panel, Shri Abhijit Ray, Managing Director, UC Inclusive Credit, and I will request the panelists to come up on stage and take the dais as I call upon your names. Shri Rahul Johri, Chairman, Vector Finance. Ms. Diksha Shah, Managing Director of Sarvadi. A huge round of applause, please. You've all had lunch. We can show some more N2, right? Shri Pranab Rakshit, Chairperson of Sarala. Shri Praveen Kumar Saha, CBO of Unity Small Finance Bank. Shri Bireshwar Chatterjee, Chief Compliance Officer and Head of Business Legal for Shri Ram Life Insurance. And last but not the least, Shri Alok Bishash, Managing Director of Jana Kalyan Financial Services.
Good evening, everyone. The last session of the day, not an easy one to be in. Of course, amazing last session. Manoj ji and all other speakers, and very our good friend Vivek, lightened up the movement. What a session it was. Of course, at the end, it ended with a very positive note. That's what we all look forward to. I think the session now is very, very interesting one. I hope our panelists will make it much more interesting than I am thinking. It talks about building a safe credit ecosystem for low-income borrowers through shared responsibility. So thanks AMFI. I'm always blessed to get invitation almost every year to be part of this event. And of course, it's always homecoming for me because I started funding lot of institutions from 1994. I don't know how much you know that West Bengal is the earliest state to probably start microfinance. Even in 1994, I used to fund, 94, 95, right? And those days it was RMK. The only funder was Rashtriya Mahila Kosh. And then SIDBI came into the picture. Of course, the NABARD was there on the SHG model. And I was part of SIDBI. So I have seen the entire building blocks of microfinance to this amazing state of West Bengal where I also belong to. So, first of all, the 3 words I'll pick it up from here. First, it says about safe credit ecosystem. I still wonder, are we unsafe really? I mean, why we have to talk of safe? Where is the issue of safety? We work for the woman, right? Most of our clients are women. I know somebody said during the day that we should bring in, I think HDFC gentleman said, Venki sir said about it that or somebody else probably. Yeah, women are not there, right? Not many women on the field. So we have to think of that, correct? Yes, the number of field officers may not be there, but look at the back offices. The number of women are tremendous who are working in this space. Today, even if you look at the participation in the entire conference, I believe it will be 35%, if not more, which is a great participation in West Bengal. I don't know about other states, but definitely amazing. So it's not about a safe environment. Safe from a credit ecosystem, if you have to think, of course I'll come to the panelists to talk about that. But I think as an industry, we have delivered it so well for so many years. And I'll share some data here. I mean, Manoj talked about credit card in the morning. Any guess what is the NPA rate? 16%. 15 to 16, right? Only in after 20-25 years, microfinance last year hit closer to 16%, correct? After so many years, like 20-25 years. Whereas the credit card industry, which is globally so well developed, was already at a 15% NPA rate. So why are you so scared? I mean, if you today somebody talked about fintech, right? Fintech industry, they don't even talk of what is the write-off. I'm not talking of NPA, write-off to AUM. The word they use is, what is the write-off to disbursements? I'm not joking. And you know what are the rates? The bare minimum I found in these fintechs is 7%. And the highest goes to 15% of disbursement. If I take it on AUM, it's going to be 35-40%. I'm not joking. Please check the numbers. I fund fintech, so I know. At least there are 15 portfolio companies of mine which are into fintech, right? So why are we getting so scared? So why a question of safe environment? We actually have delivered. If you look at the entire historical write-off rates of the industry from the day one, if I take from disbursement till today, I can bet you calculate all the numbers, sum it up, it will not be more than 1% from disbursement side. Why are we so scared? So I think we are in an environment, we are in the industry which has done tremendously well. And we should not be shy of telling this, right? We cannot go back and take a step back and say, no, we are at fault. We are not at fault. Let's accept that. Let's be very confident about it, and then we can move to the next step. Of course, we'll talk of different strategies people will take, different options we are thinking of. Think of it, I mean, we talk of today, from a regulator, otherwise we are saying that we should diversify products, right? Diversify to what? Housing finance. Any guess what is the housing finance NPA rate as, if I look at 2025? 2.5%. 2.5% for an asset which people don't want to leave, right? In a secured environment, it's not less. And Microfinance for so many years have, given a 99.9% repayment rates. So once again, pat on our back, we have done a tremendously good job. Now, coming to the 3 points of a safe credit ecosystem, and then the second part was low-income borrowers. Of course, we have to be very careful here what we mean by low-income borrowers. I think India as such, as a population wherein there are segments which we can't even touch, right? We are not at the, subprime in most cases in the microfinance sector. So actually we are giving 3 or 4 loans to these people and they are paying. So I think that way it is not completely very low income. We have a certain income where they can afford to pay and they have paid time and again, right? And that's what Mr. Ghosh also said in the beginning, that we have to understand our customers and really focus on how we can build those relationships. Third is the shared responsibility. I think when you talk of shared responsibility, it's not about the operator, ourselves. It's the whole ecosystem what works around, right? I mean, today we talk of one side regulator today also morning we heard the regulator saying that we should diversify product. We should think of different products for the segment. I mean, why you should think different products for the segment? Because other entities who are regulated, but they have been given a leeway to work differently, we have to change ourselves. Why? We have reached the most number of clients. Tell me which retail product has reached so much of clients, so many number of clients. So why we have to change our part to adjust to others? Rather, we should think what we need to do to be much more responsible, to be much more creditworthy, and to be much more focused on what is the need. I mean, I'll come to each of these points as we go with our esteemed panel. So I'm blessed to have an amazing group of people who are veterans in this space. So let me start with Rahul at the, fag end of the dais. So Rahul, you are a veteran banker. You have seen, you worked with global banks, and then you were in Bandhan as well, seen the microfinance journey there, and then you have your couple of startups, and now you also demerged with another NBFC. So you are sitting with a couple of NBFCs now, and your BC company. Now think of it, is it that being mono product is something where we should be concerned about? We have to build more trade products, or we should think of how we can convince the regulator to think of investment and saving products. Because across, as Karthik was saying in the previous session, in the morning actually, that this is the only country probably where we are not allowed savings, right? So how shall we not push for that? Because if savings are there, one is client will not run away. They will always think that their money is stuck here. And 3 is we have to build their corpus, right? At the early days when we were funding from SIDBI side, we always try to give a transformation loan just to build a corpus of equity for the NGOs to transform to NBFCs. And similarly, for this customer to move to the next level, don't we think we have to build that corpus? What's your thought?
So Abhijit, for me it's been an evolution process. I've worked across different banks. We typically get used to dealing with at least 12 to 15 products. And then I moved into Vector Finance, which is an MFI, where we typically deal with one product. What one realizes that when you're dealing with an individual from any segment, the person has got different financial needs. So if you were to define the financial needs of any of us, in any segment, what are your typical financial needs? You have a need to transact, so you require a transaction account, and into which you will save also. You need to do payments. You also need to plan, you need to do risk mitigation. So if there's an eventuality or a conditional risk, then how do you address it through insurance? And then you need to do financial goal planning, which also includes your retirement planning. So, Abhijit, I think you're bang on in terms of saying that when we actually deal with our borrowers, the good thing is that our borrowers trust us, and therefore we have an opportunity to actually guide them on each of these aspects. We should not treat microfinance as a transactional activity, but there is a big opportunity for us to look at the other financial aspects where we can add value to an MFI borrower. So his transacting needs is, risk mitigation, financial goal planning, retirement planning, payments, remittances. So we should actually that should be a platform which should be available to us.
Great, I think valid points, and I also feel under similar line that we have to think of a comprehensive product offering. Alok, I'll come to in a bit. Let's hear a slightly different perspective probably from Madam, and I'm so happy that there's one woman panel member. We should have more. So ma'am, you come from a completely corporate background, right? And moving into microfinance for you, or you don't call it a microfinance, but actually you are doing small ticket loan, right? So how do you see from a corporate having multiple businesses, manufacturing others, to this segment, and what you think is your view that how we ensure as an industry we send all the positive vibes to the market and start regrowing again?
So, first of all, we are a microfinance. It's an NBFC microfinance. So, though we come from a corporate background, I think as a value system, it gives us a leverage because and gives us a new start, because microfinance came from an unorganized sector primarily. We got attracted to it because finance was a dream. We wanted another vertical in our company and something. So rightly said, we began as it being CSR activities or doing well or creating an impact. Ultimately, we realized no business runs on only social salvation, and it should be rightly done if we really want to create the right impact. So I would say that I'm also a newbie on this table. Like, we began very in 2019, and I have the leverage and advantage of learning from the veterans. If you ask my take, I think whatever is happening, whatever scenario is happening in the industry at the moment, I think it was meant to be, and it's good because every industry, when it grows, after a couple of decades, needs to go through this change, where the regulator takes an action, where regulator intervenes and puts certain rules and regulations. And I personally, if you ask me, I think the way forward is brighter.
Awesome. What a positive note from ma'am, and that too coming from the only woman leader on the dais. Thank you, ma'am. Coming to Alokda, I've been a veteran banker, Axis Bank, and prior to that public sector, built 2 MFIs. And one side you also saw insurance business through which you built the first MFI, insurance distribution, and then the second one. What you think we should do as an industry to address this? If you have to be the leader taking this lead on the measures to be taken or measures to be implemented.
Good afternoon, Abhijit. Our topic is safe credit ecosystem, so I don't know whether you are digressing all these things. That is good. Whether we are safe or not, I thought this is the question. But see, my background is okay, but I was a banker for quite a long time, working in PSU and again Axis Bank, and then jumped to this MFI sector and all these things. Since morning we are talking about the credit diversification and also product diversification and so many other instruments. My personal view is that when you are talking about that lending in HFI, housing finance or credit card or any other sector, EV, I was talking to Praveen morning, he was talking that the EV also having a 5% NPA, that electric vehicle, and even in solar system, in on-grid solar system or off-grid solar system, the climate finance, they are also having 3% NPA. Then why the MFI is not safe? It's 3% NPA. So for my question, when I was experienced in MSME sector, corporate sector, I have lended extensively in the big corporate, even MSME, rural credit, everything in bank. Why you have jumped to microfinance? It is for the unsecured lending only. There is a lot of beauty is here. If you, this 3%, our major problem is for safe equipped system or whatever you tell, is the supply side. When the bank is not bothered about that getting the money at whatever cost, 3%, 4%, if the bank has not having money, when they can go to call it, they can take a money from the RBI, they can lend from so many sources. RBI is the last resort for bank. So they don't thought about thinking about that supply side. For our cases, raw material is money and we cannot take from savings from our borrower or anywhere. So I have to bang on the this financial institution like you also, and again that bank, PSU, private bank, DFI, whoever it may be. So suddenly they stop funding means we are in a soup. So that is the major problem. Otherwise, I am very comfortable with microfinance because I don't want to get diversification. And also, sometime if you are thinking that with one customer, I will give MFI loan, I will sell solar, I will sell solar light, I will give credit card, I will give this, that, so many things. Our people are not that so much expert. So that also you have to think. We'll discuss in later also in detail.
What you are saying is probably we'll have to also build capabilities. That's what probably you're aiming, that we have to build capabilities to do all this, right? Fair. Now, coming to Praveen. Praveen, you have worked in different type of organizations, right? Starting from building an MFI in a Jana. I've seen you, one of the tech-heavy MFI the early days, to a bank today. I mean, you have seen the journey of different institutions, and I'll ask you a slightly controversial thing we discussed today. Gozda in the morning said something very interesting that, shall we go back to basics, right? We are forgetting about that customer is the core and we are not even paying value to the customer probably. Whereas, I think Venki sir from Spandana now and ex-HDFC, he said a very interesting thing. Shall we look at it differently now? Times have changed. Of course, kids will have phone now. They will talk, put their headphones in and still do the business, right? So, if you being a practitioner for so many years, if you have to think of where we are missing out, what is the message we want to give? Is there something inherently wrong in the way we are doing business? What would be your inputs?
Thank you very much. I think Abhijit has been seeing me from a very long time and we have been knowing each other from maybe more than 15 years now. I will just take 2 minutes to tell you from where I have come and what all changes I have seen. You all would have seen, but in 15, 16 or maybe 17 years, precisely speaking of career in microfinance, I have seen ticket sizes going from 10,000 to 40,000 or slightly more than that. We were all cash disbursement, all cash collections. From there, we have come almost to non-cash disbursement. Everything is into bank account, where we were thinking that bank account cannot be operated by our customers. Then on the cash collections also, I have got around 60% of the portfolio, which is individual business loans, which is a graduation from the JLG loans. We see 66% first attempt batch clearance. So there is a lot of change, and then digital payments is also there. So product diversification, maybe that has to be demanded from the customer. It should come from the customer. On if things are going wrong or going bad, okay, let me just start from the most negative piece which is being spoken about now, NPAs in microfinance by everybody, all of us. We are also scared about talking. I did a study on 1 lakh NPA customers of mine. I have got a base of around 15.6 lakh customers. Of that, 1 lakh customers are NPA. 1 lakh customers I have checked. Of that, 87.63% of the customers have paid 5 loans in a nice way, which means that at least 4 to 5 years of repayment track, if some loans are running parallelly also. 5 loans paid properly and then they have become NPAs. And these are all NPA customers. 72.6% of the customers have never moved to par previously. They are seeing the par for the first time. All NPA customers maybe 1 year old. 81.09% of the customers are contactable physically, which means that they have not taken loan and बोलते हैं ना विजय माल्या लंदन भाग गए तो यहाँ से भाग के चले गए. That has not happened. Now what has gone wrong? Maybe as a country we have grown good. Abhi some 3 months back I ordered something on Blinkit. I stay in Mumbai, so the Blinkit, the boy comes in and I realized that he was a loan officer in my Virar branch in Mumbai. तो I asked him, यार बॉस ये मतलब what is this? तो बोला सर मैंने छोड़ दी 3 महीने पहले. तो बोलता you came with me for the field visit. Why you have left the job? अच्छा job था and this Blinkit and there is no comparison. So then he says कि सर आप लोग सुबह उठा देते हो, पूरे दिन भर दौड़ाते हो, गाली भी देते हो हम लोगों को, पैसा भी 15,000 मिल रहा है, बोलता है यहाँ 15,000 मिल जाता है. तो मैंने यार इज्जत की नौकरी है, you will become branch manager after some time, will become a cluster head after some time and that you takes you to a different level. तो ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हो? बोलता नहीं सर 4 बजे वो गर्लफ्रेंड का छुट्टी होता है तो उसको भी ड्रॉप करना होता है. तो मैंने बोला स्कूल का टाइमिंग तो चेंज नहीं कर सकता हूँ मैं, बट मैंने बोला क्या बट गर्लफ्रेंड विल रिक्वायर मनी, विदाउट मनी नोबडी कम्स इन माई लाइफ. ऑल द लेडीज हु आई एम विद दे ऑलवेज आस्क फॉर हाउ मच मनी आई अर्न. उसके आगे कुछ क्वेश्चन ही नहीं पूछता है. तो मतलब पैसा तो होना चाहिए. बोलता लेकिन उसको ड्रॉप नहीं करूँगा तो शायद ज़्यादा गुस्सा हो जाएगी. तो यहाँ ड्रॉप भी हो जाता है, पैसा भी कमा लेते हैं, अपना काम भी चल रहा है. एंड दिस लोन ऑफिसर्स आर द क्रेडिट डिसीजन मेकर्स इन माइक्रोफाइनेंस. So I picked up 1,000 exit cases. Of the 1,000 exit cases who have left my company as a loan officer, 72% have gone back to microfinance, which is good news. But 28% have not gone to microfinance. So there is a loss to the industry. These are like good people doing job. Stability is one factor, that 3 months, 6 months they are not. But knowing the customer, knowing microfinance, 28% has already left. They feel that they are not part of this one. Then after that 52% of the people say that pressure बहुत ज़्यादा है. We are having, so what has happened now because of this group norms failing out. Previously a loan officer was collecting 10 centers in a day and ODs were not there. One OD the evening they are going for one OD. Now 50 customers they can visit 40 houses or 35 houses and in that also some customers refuse to pay. So what is happening? Their job has become 3x 4x. Salary remains the same. Pressure increases. And we forgot that group norms are not working now. So what we have done in our setup is that we have tried to move these customers to individual loans and started booking NACH. But we do visit the customers. If the customers are not visited, we are allowing a loan officer to do 15% video calls and check whether the customer is existing or not. So these are the changes what we have done. So I don't think so we have gone very wrong. Only thing is that we have to somehow get back these customers. 1% was the par, now I think 12-13% is the par level or NPA levels. These customers are not bad. In the current situation, as sir was telling, liquidity crisis, if we don't start lending money, then there will be a problem. Then this customer will also go and I think those customers who are paying, they will also stop paying. So we have to create some money going in. One more change what we have done in our system is that we have started giving loans for very smaller EMIs because we feel that it is a cash flow game. If the EMIs are shorter, they will prefer to pay it rather than bigger EMIs. So that is another big change what we are observing. But at the end of the day, I still feel that I think we'll come back into action again. We'll get the customers back into the mainstream and this industry is going to grow further.
No, wonderful, Praveen. I think what Praveen re-emphasizes is that maybe the group model is not working, but we should not miss the touch part, right? We still go and meet the clients, right? At their doorsteps. I think there are a lot of village-based or market-based models which has worked across India and across the globe where the touch factor is important. Whether you go just at a time of collection, you meet them, say hi, and take the money and come back. But the touch point is very important. And not only in India, if you look at globally, whether, I give this example quite often, Amazon set up 50 stores at some point, physical stores in US. There was no need. Every book was selling, everything was selling, but they set up stores just so that people come and feel. The feel factor is very important, right? The touch factor is very important. So probably the model is changing, but we have to change a bit to think that how we remain in touch with the client, whether in a direct touch or through phone or whatever way it is, right? Now, I'll come to Mr. Chatterjee in a bit, because you come from an insurance industry, which is very interesting, and you cover the microfinance part really well. Pramodda, a veteran, you have built, from scratch, and you build the institution as initially as a not-for-profit and moved to a for-profit model. Now, Gigi sir said a very interesting thing that what we think of these clients, right? If they have defaulted, like, shall we not have a system of a credit score that where people who have paid for six loans, like what Praveen was talking about, and then 1 year they defaulted. But can we think of pushing our industry towards the level saying that even if they defaulted in this loan, but let's look at the 6th loan they paid, and then build a credit score, that would give the people who are out of the system or who have defaulted, we can bring them back. So what do you think of building that confidence, and what we should do as industry to build that confidence?
Yeah. Thank you, Abhijit. It's nice having you in the as a moderator. And Madam was asking me, Abhijit did not ask us anything that how he will just lead this session. So I said that you might be doing from the corporate microfinance, as Abhijit was just telling that coming from SIDBI almost 3 decades back and knowing each other all, something doesn't require any preparation. Whatever is getting asked, you have to simply answer. And another advantage would be that we would be the last session. So I was wondering that whether this side would be the majority from the opposite end. So fortunately, I see all of my colleagues and still sitting here. And the third thing, which is basically from the sector which was quite needed, that we hardly seen any bankers came in this conference here. So whom to impress for saying anything is not required. But basically the way Manojji had run this previous session, the people were talking from the heart, was something to be heard probably in the last session as well. So coming to the point of what Abhijit has raised, referring Gigi sir, that see, Indian microfinance I personally see is something which we being the practitioner need to adopt, that how the Ministry of Finance, how the regulator drives us to do. We maybe 2 decades back started with a social mission of microfinance those days. And I know personally with all of the colleagues present here, they had also started this way. But going forward, what we have seen, that we have to prove ourselves to the lenders, especially to the Indian banks or in the Indian microfinance, that we are capable. So somehow proving ourselves to be capable, some point of things which got started 2 decades back is a bit missing. That must have to be understood. And was it not expected? Certainly it was expected. Especially after 2010, while we have seen the IPOs are coming from the microfinance field, we had understood that the exit route of microfinance is being IPO, being or becoming a bank, or just having a bank by ourselves. But especially during last few years, I was also thinking a new route, that leaving microfinance the way it is, you go away. It should not happen. But the thing is that I'm coming to the point that regulator has made or compelled us that to whom to lend, how much to lend, how to lend. We don't have that last 20, 30 years, we don't have a compatible products of my lenders, of my borrowers. So similarly, there should be some development which had already been happening, and the thing is that which will happen maybe from the supplier's end. But at the same time, the demands end has to be. No one talked about this who had not been paying and what should be the penalty for them going forward in coming 3, 4, 5, 10 years. My borrowers willfully, they had understood that this group mechanism doesn't work. Let us not pay. How we have crossed so many things, so many burdens, so many challenges for so many years. Now the thing is, our client has decided
not to come to this efficient borrowing model. They are comfortable with that previous. And this contraction of almost 20%, it is not got contracted. It has gone to the private money lender. If you just pay a visit to the field, you would be able to understand there are again this informal source of money supply has come out. So, as Dr. Mohammad Yunus once upon a time told that no borrower can default or delinquent by themselves. It is a 10-year. Maybe someone is for 1 year, someone is for 10 years, but they require the fund. After 10 years, whenever they would be having some demand, whether we would be able to supply, that has to be taken into account. I don't know how regulator will behave after 3 years, 5 years. But if I have been given the opportunity of lending, and it has been seen during last 20 years, my best branch has become worst in 5 years. In 5 years, my worst branch has become best. So this is the cycle. Maybe someone has already eroded their capital. My client I am talking about, they require this fund and we have to support somehow, maybe 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line. But this way, microfinance cannot be eroded the way probably, I don't know, our stakeholders are thinking about. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Pranabda. What a utopian idea. I mean, hats off. He's thinking of microfinance will be in the museum in the days to come. I hope the country can become like that and there is no poverty. We all wish that happens. We all wish that all the low income will become middle income. But that definitely the utopian idea. And if you can see that in your lifetime, I'll be the happiest man. But thanks, Pranabda. Very well said. But I mean, I again take a bit of controversial topic here, and I'll go to Mr. Chatterjee on this because he comes from insurance industry. So I think somewhere he's safe to probably answer this. See, sir, we are always being pushed to do things like we were told that it's a mono product. At some point, we are at 85-50, then 75-25. Now at a 60-40. Means we have to build new products, right? Whereas our expertise lies in microfinance, whereas and we always struggle to get funding, right? Whether it is equity, debt, or whatever, and we allowed the larger NBFCs, right, who are not microfinance, to go up to 40%, correct? Of their portfolio could be microfinance, who are A-rated or A- or AAA rated. So I mean, are we not pushed into a uneven competition or unfair competition, wherein we are heavily regulated from that we have to do microfinance with this type of customers, and entities which are doing much other larger business has a better access to capital, backed by big corporates, and then I at some point felt it's an unlevel playing field. What's your thought on that, having seen the industry so closely?
Yeah, Viksit Bharat, that is a very tricky question. When you are into a different kind of business where challenges are greater, opportunities are also higher in that. So you are lending in a segment where there is no collaterals required, less of credit underwriting processes, and you have opportunity to approach a huge segment of population which probably microfinance and scheduled bankers don't have. So that looking into that opportunity, you need to position your product. You have to strengthen your other sources of income to finance that. Also, you need to see where is the protection gap. Protection gap is you have guardrails available, but there is huge protection gap. If we can work on the protection gap minimization, our concerns will be addressed to almost 80 to 90%. I can say from insurance perspective, I can share a lot of responsibility to advise you how to protect your protection gap. We have already loan protection policies by which you are protecting a gap. You have also credit protection policy, liquidity protection policies of insurance. Liquidity protection comes into play when you are at liquidity crisis due to natural calamity, catastrophe. There are products in India available which protects your liquidity. Liquidity protection helps you by making funds available when there is less of repayments, you are in crisis of liquidity, insurance company pays you for liquidity and tries to make you availing the opportunity of more demand from the market. That's how there are so many opportunities in your field as well. When you think that you have been given a non-level playing ground, when you are comparing it with NBFCs and bank, I say it is associated with lot of opportunities which we have apparently not explored yet. That opportunity, if we can explore, it is going to be the best business in India. When in India there are 80% of villages, and as Gandhiji says, soul of India stays in villages. You are given the responsibility of enriching the soul of India, and think of how we can leverage on that and compete with NBFCs, banks better than they can.
No, thank you for giving this very entirely positive twist to my question, and you added a controversy, of course. Coming to Manoj and Mr. Ghosh in the morning also said, this is a huge market, and I think you are alluding to that as well. The huge market there, which we are not even exploring, and we have enough opportunity there. So why even think of competition? Why not we think of product and move there? I am reminded that Karthik before the session told me that we have to stick to a time because as Pravin's field officer wanted to meet his girlfriend, Karthik may have to meet his girlfriend as well. So he told me that be on time. So my question to the organizers is, I mean your wife, not girlfriend. So people don't think on those directions. So my question to the organizer is, we are already crossed the timing by almost 20 minutes. So I can go with one round, but that will take another 30-35 minutes. Instead of that, I would open to question. I'll be opening the session to questions rather, and you can specifically direct your question to the panelist, or anybody can answer. So better to do that, right? Instead of carrying on another set. Karthik nodded immediately when I said this. So please note whom is going to meet now. Looks like a very boring session, no questions. Good. We can finish on time, so Karthik can leave quickly.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Daras from Bajaj Finance Private Limited.
Yes, sir.
Very nice seminar, and very intellectual people attending it. My one basic question is, it's regarding to the safety norms, which you started the session as safe, which triggered to me, we as an MFI or microfinance, the basic safety is cash. The core subject is cash. And in our microfinance level, the RO or the branch manager who are dealing with cash does a cash fraud. We do not have a single database which microfinance company employee has done a fraud and he goes to the next company, gets a job, Equifax takes a long time. We must have a platform on which these type of frauds are available so that it helps the HR and the microfinance at one shot.
So you are talking of an exchange type of thing where all the data is uploaded, who did what type of session? Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, something like that.
For staff.
For staff frauds, basically.
Please.
So, I think safety and protection from the company's end is also important, from the lender's end, that you train your staff, give them a certain provision, and there is a supervision and check at your end. Other than that, I think Equifax has a phenomenal employee bureau where we constantly report any fraud. In fact, there's a question that will you rehire this person every time somebody's leaving? And I think
Sorry ma'am, but that takes a 3 months period of time. It does not happen immediately. And if I'm a recruiter, I would recruit a new person and ask him a revealing letter within 3 months period of time. So we do not know at that point of time whether that person is a fraudulent person or not.
I think the problem is there with us, partially with us and partially with the time taken for updation. I think it does not take 3 months definitely, because I have found fraudulent employees in my system who are caught after 35-40 days. It takes 45 days, which is a long time, which has to be shortened, and we can request that. But the second thing is that what actually you are trying to highlight is that we have seen there is negotiation happening with the employees in most of the cases. You pay my money, go from here, I'll give you a clean sheet. In my case, at least in the last 3 months, when the heat is on for NPA collection and what's gone wrong with the customer, I have found out in my system 118 employees in last 3 months where they have negotiated with the previous employee, they have paid the fraud money, whatever they have taken, to the previous employer and taken a clean sheet and then come and join. I think that is a bigger problem. Updation of Equifax, we are also forcing and pushing and requesting Equifax that it should be maybe 7 days or 15 days. That will help us out. Hopefully that should happen fast. That should happen in the days to come.
No, my only request is that there should be a platform in which we can avail this data immediately.
Yeah, I think, sir, fair. There are two parts to it. I mean, there are a lot of things. One of the major issues of the sector itself is that the booklets, and there is somebody working on that, right? How to ensure that the entire booklet is on a platform, if it's possible, right? Somewhere from we can, like what we do in case of our debenture trustee taking care of the interest of the lenders. So there are things which are in the progress we are making. But one thing to be clear, so fraud is a very sensitive subject. Now, until you really establish that guy has done a fraud, you cannot just report. It may be a suspected fraud, correct? So at the time you fire that guy, person or put in suspension, right? But you cannot track what he or she is doing somewhere else, right? So it's a very tricky area there. So one has to keep the timelines, also into mind that any fraud happens, you have to establish and then only, because you may be ruining somebody's career if you are not reporting it properly, correct?
Yes, sir. But one thing is there that certain MFIs which I met today, other MFIs also, and they stated that there are frauds which happened and FIRs have been done, and then still the person has been recruited somewhere or the other because of the time lag.
I think this is one issue probably Gigi sir as a industry head of my SRO perspective can take it up.
Also, not to recruit, you just recruit fresh people. I am doing for last 15 years like that only. I never recruited people from any of the microfinance company. So that's the better thing. Last 15 years I am running the
easy solution.
company.
Alok has always the easy solutions.
Don't recruit, give 20% whatever morning was that told already. 20% money you give the training, give proper thing. India is a unique place where, especially West Bengal, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Bhimar state, everybody, manpower is not a shortage of things. You can go ahead, no issue. You will not face this problem.
Oh, thank you.
Any other question? I think I see, yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Myself, Shubroto. I am an organization from Servita Microfinance Private Limited. Regarding HR, I am sharing one thing. At presently, we are recruiting the staff. At that time, we can observe that most employees are quite they are doing the fraudulent activities at presently. I have noticed that the maximum staff, they are taking loan from different personal loan and from fintech organization, and more or less 80% employee and microfinance employees are defaulters. But in our customer default rate is around 4 to 5% or 6%. But in our employee credit officer and in my observations is 90% are defaulter. Hopefully their preferences from they collecting money and they use this installment, use this rupees for their paying installment. This is the main cause of the fraud.
I think this is an operator question. I think any operator can answer this better.
So, since I am in insurance industry and I have worked in regulator also, fraud cannot be eliminated from the system altogether. It cannot be brought down to zero. Never. So, from my legal career also, legal point of view also, there is capital punishment available for homicide and rape and etc. Is that mean that this has come to zero? It is not. So, what we do in insurance industry is that wherever there is incidence of fraud is increasing, we built it in our pricing to adjust to the fraudulent outgo of our revenue. So you have to also check whether you can accommodate that level of fraud in your pricing or not. That's why maybe lending in MFI lending rate is little higher than other modes of funding. So that is one way of calculating your fraud and inbuilding in your pricing of the product.
So what we attempted is we said that anybody that we hire, we'll check their credit bureau scores before hiring somebody. But then we landed up in a situation where we weren't being able to hire anybody. So there is a real challenge in that. But having said that, there's no right or wrong answer over here. And what we try doing is anybody onboarding, if you do a check with, and the MFI community anywhere, any catchment, any district is not very large. So if you do a reference check to your own employees, you can find out who are the habitual defaulters in terms of taking loans themselves. And you can be careful about hiring those people. That's what we've tried doing. We normally do a reference check to our own employees.
Also, reference check, just to add on, we also do reference check with the company they've worked with previously, not with the HR and not with the bosses, but with people who worked with them literally, because they'll really give you the juice. And we'll get our own teams to do it, because microfinance is a very, it's an industry where people do communicate with each other from different companies. So everybody knows everybody. So that we've faced lesser problems with hiring people who've done fraudulent activities in the previous companies. So that's helped.
Yeah, I think very well covered that it's so well-knit industry, we know each other, we can do the references within the teams and make it work. Any other questions?
मेरे एक क्वेश्चन है, मेरा नाम रहीमा है, रहीमा खातून, और NGO MFI नारी और शिशु कल्याण केंद्र, और हम फॉर्मर बोर्ड मेंबर थे MFI का. तो मेरे क्वेश्चन नहीं है, लेकिन मेरे आप मॉडरेटर सर जो शुरू किए थे कि इस इंडस्ट्री में ज़्यादातर क्लाइंट वुमेन्स है, और लेकिन मुझे लग रहा है कि वुमेन जो हमारा जो वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट का हम बात करते हैं, और उसमें हम सोचते हैं कि इकोनॉमिक एम्पावरमेंट एक बड़ा हिस्सा है, लेकिन अभी जो फेमिनिस्ट जो पर्सपेक्टिव है उसमें देख रहे हैं ये और एक डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का इशू है. ये माइक्रो फाइनेंस देके वुमेन को ऐसा नहीं कर रहे. जो हम बात कर रहे थे कि MFI पहले जो सेशन था उसमें बात किया था कि वो एक नेगेटिव हो रहे हैं, लेकिन मैं एक रिकमेंडेशन देना चाहती हूँ कि रियली ये बहुत ही अच्छा एक प्रोग्राम है, क्योंकि हम बहुत दिन से वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट कर रही है, लेकिन ये एक इम्पॉर्टेंट इशू है MFI का, क्योंकि वो जब कुछ बिजनेस करते हैं, कहाँ मिलेगा, बैंक नहीं जाते हैं, तो ये एक अच्छा पूरा ये मैं नहीं बताती हूँ, लेकिन मुझे लग रहा है कि एक जेंडर सेंसिटिविटी होना चाहिए इस सेक्टर को। जो जैसे वुमेन का हम वुमेन का साथ काम कर रहे हैं, जैसे ह्यूमन टच का बोल रहे हैं कि इसका ऊपर थोड़ा सा जो हमारा ये 10th माइक्रो फाइनेंस समिट हो रहा है, इसमें मेरे एक स्ट्रॉन्ग रिकमेंडेशन जो जेंडर सेंसिटिव होना चाहिए, जितना क्रेडिट ऑफिसर हो, जो फील्ड में जाते हैं, जो माइक्रो फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशन का हेड है, वो होना चाहिए। क्योंकि हम बहुत फॉर्चुनेट थे, हम बीजिंग कॉन्फ्रेंस में गए थे, उसमें मोहम्मद यूनिस आए थे और इला भाट जी आए थे इंडिया से, तो उन्होंने बात किया था वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट का एक सबसे बड़ा टूल है, सबसे बड़ा हथियार है माइक्रो फाइनेंस, ये क्रेडिट का। लेकिन अभी जो हम बात कर रहे हैं ना, जो अभी क्या सिचुएशन है, हम देख रहे हैं कि हम अगले और 10 साल का बाद कैसे देखना चाहती हूँ, तो इसका ऊपर और चर्चा होना चाहिए, क्योंकि कुछ नेगेटिव आ रहे हैं ना, वुमेन लोन लेके घर छोड़ के जा रही है, ये सब कुछ न्यूज में आते हैं। बहुत वुमेन्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फ़ोन करते हैं मुझे, क्योंकि मैं इस सेक्टर में हूँ, तो वो पूछ रही है कि क्या सोच रही है माइक्रो फाइनेंस इंडस्ट्री, वुमेन्स का ये प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, वो कभी सोचा है कि नहीं, क्या हो रहा है। तो मैं इसका ऊपर थोड़ा सा हाईलाइट करना चाहती हूँ कि ये वाला बात चर्चा होगा। थैंक यू, थैंक यू सो मच।
नहीं, वेरी गुड पॉइंट, बिकॉज वी वर्क फॉर वुमेन, वी आर फॉर वुमेन एंड वी शुड बी डन। आई थिंक फर्स्ट पॉइंट तो इस अशिता के लिए कि अशिता फर्स्ट पैनल से मैं देख रहा था, देयर वर हार्डली एनी वुमेन स्पीकर। तो पहला चीज आप करें, व्हिच माय पार्टनर एरिक डज, he never speaks in any conference if there is not at least one woman. He made it a point, he refuses to speak. So I was so happy when I saw ma'am in this session, because we are for women empowerment and we have been talking of this for donkey years, right? And why we can't find a person in the panel itself? So let's start with that. Ashita, please take a note. Has to be that every panel, first of all, we should have it, because we need to have this voice also very strong there. Ma'am, sorry. Sure, ma'am, and thank you for raising this, and good presentation by Alok da before this, where we are talking of all the things we are doing as AMFI here, support from Manoj's CSR fund, then with CP and others. We are continuously working on women empowerment, whether it is employability, whether it is entrepreneurship, whether it is financial independence, financial literacy, all these things. So there is a great amount of effort. And as I said in the beginning, I was so happy to see at least 35% women participating, which was wonderful. I mean, we should give ourselves a pat in the back. So good participation. And I must tell you the last thing here, ma'am, as we finish this, that I attended some of the regional conferences. I was in Lucknow, I speak in other ones, and Manoj was also there probably. Sir was there. The participation here, the best. I mean, we don't see more than 200 anywhere. I think today we had seen almost 500 to 600. So 700, huh? Wonderful. So great job here. West Bengal is doing so well. The data says that. I think Equifax presented it. And we should take this, being the starter of microfinance in India way back, 35 years back. We should lead this and continue to build well. Thank you.
One thing actually, Janakala is having 28% women employee.
So thanks a lot to all the panelists, for their time, and thanks AMFI for amazing program. Thanks all the organizers, secretary and office bearers. It was wonderful to be here. Grateful for all the presence at the fag end of the day. At least almost 800 people here. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your patience here.
Thank you so much, sir. That was an excellent and a deeply meaningful discussion, and I'm sure all of you agree, right? A huge round of applause as we come to the close of the session. I will now request Sri Karthik Vishwash to please come on stage to felicitate our esteemed members on the panel.
গুড ইভিনিং। পুরো ফাঁকা হয়ে গেছে সব, আর নেই ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস দেওয়ার জন্য সেরকম, তবুও বলি থ্যাংক ইউ সবাইকে। এখানে সকাল থেকে হিন্দি ইংরাজিতে প্রোগ্রাম হচ্ছে, আমি বাংলাতেই বলছি, আশা করি সবাই বুঝতে পারছেন, কিছুটা হিন্দিতেও বলি। তো আমাদের টোটাল 9টা ব্যাংক এখানে এসছে সকাল থেকে, তার মধ্যে স্টেট ব্যাংক, আমাদের পাঞ্জাব অ্যান্ড সিন্ধ ব্যাংক, পাঞ্জাব ন্যাশনাল ব্যাংক, নাবার্ড, ব্যাংক অফ ইন্ডিয়া, বন্ধন ব্যাংক, উজ্জীবন ব্যাংক ইসাব এবং यूनिटी स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक एरा इसके, और बहुत सारा एनबीएफसी भी आया है। टोटल डेलीगेट्स जो आया है बाहर से और बैंकिंग सेक्टर से अराउंड 436 और टोटल पार्टिसिपेंट अराउंड 500। तो इंडिगो का क्राइसिस, उसके बाद भी इतना लोग जो आया है के लिए सबको थैंक यू। और सुबह से बहुत ही ओपन बात हुआ है, ये सबसे मैंने शुरू किया था स्टार्टिंग, मैंने सोचा था उसके बाद क्या होगा, लेकिन उसके बाद जो लास्ट मोनोज सर जो सेशन मॉडरेट किए हैं उसमें मैं देखा पूरा ओपन हो गया सेक्टर, क्योंकि और कुछ हिडन नहीं है उस टाइम। तो यही होना चाहिए एक्चुअली। देखिए कोई भी सेक्टर ऐसा नहीं है जो बहुत स्मूथली चलेगा। इंडिगो अब देख रहे हैं क्राइसिस, कैसा क्राइसिस है, जो 350 फ्लाइट एक दिन में कैंसिल कर रहे हैं। तो मिसमैनेजमेंट, गलती हर जगह होता है, लेकिन रेक्टिफाई करके फर्दर आगे बढ़ना है। अगर कुछ गलती, मैं बिलीव नहीं करता हूँ एमएफआई से कुछ गलती होता है, क्योंकि जैसे बोलते हैं, पोनोप्ता ने बोला है, जो हमारे पास करने के लिए बहुत लिमिटेड रिसोर्स है, क्योंकि आरबीआई ने सेट किया 3 लाख, एसआरओ ने सेट किया 2 लाख, आरबीआई ने सेट किया रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, आरबीआई ने प्रोसेसिंग फीस, किन लोगों को देना है, किन लोगों को देना माना है, कितना करना है, क्या नहीं करना है। ये फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन कम गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी ज्यादा लगता है मुझे। जब हम गवर्नमेंट का वर्क करते हैं, जो गवर्नमेंट हम लोगों को देके गवर्नमेंट का काम करवाते हैं, गवर्नमेंट जब देते हैं, बांट देते हैं पैसा, उसको और वापस नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन एमएफआई जब कर रहे हैं वापस चाहिए। डिफरेंस इसमें इतना ही है। लेकिन सेक्टर का जो प्लस है, इसमें से सक्सेसफुली बंधन बैंक हुआ है, 6 लाख करोड़ का ग्रुप साइज अभी रोजदा ने प्रेजेंट किया है, 8 स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक इस सेक्टर से हुआ है, और बाकी नेक्स्ट फ्यूचर में भी हम लोग देख रहे हैं जो कंसोलिडेशन हो रहा है, उसमें भी मे भी और सेक्टर बड़ा होगा, जो हम लोग एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं। जो नेक्स्ट 4-5 इयर्स के बाद इस सेक्टर का साइज अराउंड 10 लाख करोड़ होगा, और कस्टमर बेस अराउंड 12 करोड़ कस्टमर बेस। तो इसी आशा के साथ खत्म करते हैं आज के प्रोग्राम। थैंक यू सबको आने के लिए, और नेक्स्ट ईयर और पॉजिटिव रहेगा सेक्टर, यही आशा करता हूँ। थैंक यू।